Aloha. Welcome to ABLE Seminars sessions. Last time we talked about tenancy in common. This time we're going to talk about joint tenancy. So we'll take the same four people that own the property and inherited the property from mom and dad. This time you got the son and the three sisters. In tenancy in common, the son could own half and the sisters could own one third of a half. In joint tenancy, it must be equal shares. So all four of them will own 1/4 each. Now, when one of the owners die, the other three will inherit the property, and the will or trust will not dictate who gets the share of the decedent, because by law, the ownership will go to the other three survivors. So we call this right of survivorship. So let's say one of them wants to sell the property. Let's say daughter one. She wants to sell her share to Mr. X. She doesn't need anyone else's permission to sell it to Mr. X, except by selling it to Mr. X, the joint tenancy of her share is now broken, and Mr. X will own his share 1/4 in tenancy in common in severalty. So he will own his share, and he can give his share to anybody in his will or trust. But the other three, when they die, it will go to the other survivors. So ultimately, when the last survivor in the joint tenancy, the other two die and there's only one left, then that last survivor will own 3/4 of the property and Mr. X will own 1/4. So let's say Mr. X says, hey, I want to sell the whole property. And the others say, no, we don't want to sell it. Can Mr. X force a sale, or can any of the other owners force a sale? And the answer is yes. Because we talked about a partition suit sale by going to court and tell the judge, hey, I want to sell and these other people don't want to sell, make them sell it, and they'll appoint a commissioner and they'll have an auction and the property will be sold. That's not what they really want, but sometimes that's how it works, right? So in a joint tenancy, remember it's right of survivorship. So let's say one of the daughters says, mom and dad gave it to us in joint tenancy and I didn't know that my husband or my children won't get my share. My brother or sisters are going to get it. I don't want that. I want to sever the joint tenancy and I'll give it to my husband. Can she do that? The answer is yes. All she has to do is go to an attorney and say, can you change the deed to take my 1/4 out of the joint tenancy and put it in severalty or tenancy by the entirety to the husband and wife, which I'll cover in the next session. So the sister can sever the joint tenancy and make it hers and then bring her husband on as a co-owner and they'll own 1/4. The other two sisters and the brother will still be in joint tenancy. So when they pass away, then their share will go to the survivors. And so ultimately, it'll be the sister that gave her share to the husband as 1/4. And the other three, the last one to survive, will own 3/4. That's very interesting, sometimes somewhat complicated. Now, if the joint tenant is sued and loses, then the plaintiff can come in and take over the loser's share and can force a sale through a partition suit sale. So it gets a little more complicated as the plot thickens, but you have to watch how you hold title to property, and joint tenancy is one of them with what we call the right of survivorship. Hope you learned something new. Aloha.